Welcome to the Adam Talks To podcast. I'm your host, Adam, and each and every week I'm going to be joined by a celebrity guest who's coming on to talk about, well, whatever they want to talk about, as long as it's interesting. Make sure you hit subscribe below so that you never miss a show. And if you want to follow us on social media, the addresses are on the screen now. But please do make sure to follow so that you never miss out on the upcoming guests and the opportunity to ask them questions. All that leaves me to do is to hand over to our guests. Over to you. Hello and welcome to another episode of Adam Talks To. Who am I talking to today?
You are talking to Gary Maclean. I'm Associate Director at the City of Glasgow College, and I am Scotland's National Chef.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, Gary. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having
I'm
us.
actually going to stitch Gary up here because before we ever do these interviews, we always have a little chat. And he said to me the most difficult question he ever gets asked is the one I'm about to ask. So Gary, what do you do for a living?
Well, fundamentally, I'm a chef, first and foremost. My day job is I'm Associate Director at City of Glasgow College, and I work with the international and commercial team, and we work all over the world, selling our qualifications and our expertise into other institutions. So that's my kind of day job. I do a bit of TV, I write books, and I travel a lot representing Scottish food and drink all over the world, Scottish food, drink and education all over the world. So I spend probably about 25 weeks a year somewhere else, in Asia or the Middle East, and I do a lot in the USA as well.
I do like how you said 25 weeks there, just in case the tax man's listening, that you're not outside of the country for more than half the year.
I don't think I'm out long enough. I'm not out long enough for that, but I should look at it.
So funny enough, you're saying you travel a lot. When we were organising this interview, I was going to say you're off to glamorous places. You went to London, and you're in Amsterdam as well. So you said that you go off to these places to promote. Is it Scottish food or just the culinary
It
school?
depends what it is. It depends. Sometimes I'm doing Highland Games. Sometimes I'm teaching. Sometimes I'm at conferences and things like that. So it's very, very varied. Sometimes I'm out the country and I'm not. It's nothing to do with being a chef. I'm back on my kind of day job. So I've got a very complicated life. Next week is Boston.
Wow, okay.
And then in April, I think I've got New York, and I've got New York twice and Barcelona, right in the middle of it all. So
Not bad for a boy from
I've got,
Glasgow, eh?
I know I've got Alaska in the diary this year. I'm the honorary chieftain at the Alaskan Highland Games coming up this year as well. So there's a lot of very, very interesting opportunities. I just love opening my emails every day.
Right. Well, talking of going over to the west of the world, are you trying to tie it up with Scotland's travels over in the World Cup? You're going to get a chance to see anything over there, or is that not your
I
bag?
I'm actually there for two games, but one of the games I'm in Alaska, which is further away from the game than we are now.
Right.
Um, so I think it's the day I'm traveling there. So I don't know what I'll see. I might miss it. There's a 9 hour time difference, which is a 4 hour time difference from Boston where they're playing. So
Right.
I don't know. I've not figured my timings out yet, but it's just nice to be in the country, I suppose, whilst the game's on. And I think I'm in Chicago for one of the other games.
So what I know about Alaska, and we'll get into the proper stuff that I want to talk to you in a minute, but obviously the only things that we ever see about Alaska, is things like it's big for oil, and it's obviously got its indigenous people out there. So what
Yep.
is going to Alaska bring for you? As in, is it to taste their cuisine, to once again take Scottish cuisine to the indigenous people or to the
Yeah.
oil workers? What does that look like for you?
Well, basically, there's a massive Highland Games.
Okay.
They get 20,000 people a day. It's about 200
Wow.
miles north of Anchorage, in the middle of the most beautiful country. It looks like Scotland, but bigger. And amazing people who are really, really proud of their Scottish roots. So they're really, really serious about competition. And what I do is I come along and I basically talk about and demonstrate Scotland's amazing produce. Um, and a bit about the history of our food and things like that. But fundamentally, just having a bit of fun with food. I've also got a book out in the US, so I'll be doing some book signings and stuff when I'm there.
Right. Okay. And do you want to promote that right now? What's the book called? Is it available over here?
Yeah, I've got a few books. So I've got out over here. I've got Kitchen Essentials, which is a kind of cookery course, explaining the fundamentals. So it goes right back to my sort of educational experience. And I've got a book called Scottish Celebrations, and I've got a book called Scottish Kitchen. And my American book is called This Scottish Kitchen. So it's a different book.
Right. Okay. Well, before we get into what people might know you for, the MasterChef years, amazingly,
Yeah.
10 years ago that you won it, which is that's
Yeah, 10
incredible.
years in 10 years in December, so it's
Yeah.
not quite 9 years and 10 months.
And we just saw you recently return as a guest judge, so we'll come back onto that. But the one thing that you haven't mentioned, well, if you did, I'm sorry if I missed it, but I don't think you did mention it. You've also got two establishments in Edinburgh, if we've got anyone traveling to Edinburgh. So you've got a deli shop and
Yeah,
a restaurant. So how often
yeah.
do you appear in those, or do you just kind of design the menus? What's the day-to-day running of those like?
Well, I own them, and I write all the menus, and I'm there every week. So
Right.
I spend a Saturday or a Sunday there most weeks, or I do a night through the week. So they're very casual. They're not. They're in the St James Quarter in a sort of marketplace called Bonnie and Wild, which
Okay.
has been named the number one sort of food court in the UK. So we get 10 or 12 kitchens within the one space. All of the kitchens are all owned by chefs, and the majority of the chefs are award winning. So it's really, really good food and a really casual setting. Fish Place has got 9 things on the menu. Again, promoting Scotland's amazing fish and shellfish. And it's just really good fun. It's a lot easier than, if I was to open a bricks and mortar restaurant, which I said I would never ever do and probably won't. But just having that space where the footfall's amazing. We'll get a queue on a Monday.
Right.
So it's just great that that you've got that kind of support from that type of organization. They deal with all the market, and they deal with all the front of house, they deal with all the till systems, and I mean they just take away so many of the headaches that you would normally have if you've got a bricks and mortar site. So, and that's what allows me. I don't think I would have the time to run a bricks and mortar restaurant where I'm
Yeah.
dealing with everything that entails. Bonnie and Well do a big part of the heavy lifting when it comes to those particular sites.
No, shout out to them. Yeah. So seafood. If a gun was put to your head, you can only have one more seafood for the rest of your life, and that's it. You have to get rid of all the others. What you're having?
Brown crab.
Brown crab. There you go. Well, that
Yeah.
that answers that one. Okay, so I'm going to go
It's
back to
amazing.
MasterChef now, and as you're obviously in the top two chefs on this call today, obviously if I went on there, you might not have won that year, but so if you were going on to that show again, can you tell us about your year and what it's like being a contestant? Because I know it's the professionals as opposed to the regular
Yeah.
MasterChef
Yeah.
series, but can you tell us a bit more about what goes on in the background, the audition process, what the places that they put you up like in, all these kind of things? What can you tell us about for someone who might want to apply?
So the reason I applied in the first place, and I applied 3 times. It took 3 years to get in.
Really? Wow.
And it was my students that kept pushing me. At the time, I was teaching full time, and I was also running the college culinary team, and we won everything. So we would be going all over the UK and beating, Westminster and Birmingham College and things like that. And then we started traveling abroad to India and in the USA and things like that, where we're still winning. So, and also in the professional show at the start of this, at the sort of first 4 or 5 weeks, they have the skills tests as
Mhm.
part of the sort of entry for new competitors. And in education, it's always a talking point the morning after, because it's fundamental skills that chefs in theory should know. So it's always a talking point in the morning, when the students come in and they say, oh, that head chef from the wherever couldn't bone out a chicken or fillet a fish and all that. And for us in education, it's a great reinforcement as to why they need those fundamental skills. That's why they come to college. So it's great for us. So anyway, the conversation went on to, chef, put your money where your mouth is, and go on and do it. So I did. And I'm a massive fan of the show. I love it. I never ever miss the professional show. And for me, I'd done quite a bit of TV prior to going on it. And I just loved the experience. I loved the behind the scenes. I loved talking to the sound guys, the camera guys and stuff. So for me, it was just like a total nerdy mission just to say I'd done it. I never ever thought in a million years that I would win it. I just wanted to, my main objective was just not to look daft. Because I knew my kids and my mum and all that was watching. And the whole experience from start to finish was just incredible. It really was. And even now, I mean, 10 years later, I'm still in touch with producers and directors and other chefs that I was on the show with. It's been an amazing experience.
Was it Michelle Roux Jr. at that time? Who was the?
No, it was Marcus,
That was
Monica,
Marcus.
and Greg were the judges when I was on it.
Okay. So obviously you're saying the skills test is a good fundamental challenge. Obviously you've been on back as setting a skills challenge yourself a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. Can you make what was it called? A souffle pancake, which was the skills test the week after yourself? Because I have never heard of that.
I couldn't have made any of that stuff the week after. Cod collars and no, that's not my kind of food. So I'm just glad. I think the competitors that came from my skills test will be over the moon that they did some venison and mushroom sauce. So
So
no,
other
I
than
couldn't have done a souffle pancake.
no, it looked nice,
I would
but
have made it completely different. I would have made a pancake, and I would have made a French
yeah.
souffle pancake. I would have made, but no, it was good TV though. It was
Yeah,
good
it
to
absolutely
watch.
was. As you can tell, I'm a fan because I've watched it. So going back 10 years now to coming back last month. Other than Marcus's hairline, what's changed in that time?
And
Sorry,
believe it or
Marcus,
not,
if you
I mean,
listen to
much
this,
as
by the way.
there's been a lot of change. Obviously, we got
Mm.
Matt Tibbett in as a new judge, and I was lucky enough to spend his first couple of weeks with him,
Okay,
as he was getting his feet under the table. So it was good to do that. And they've moved the studio to Birmingham, so they have. So that was the first professional show that they'd filmed in Birmingham. So, but believe it or not, a lot of the crew are still the same.
okay.
It was the same director, same producer, same executive producers. Floor manager was the same. Some of the sound guys and camera guys were the same. So it was really good. It was really good getting out after filming and going for a glass of wine. These guys and catching up.
Despite it being Birmingham. Sorry, Birmingham listeners.
Well, I'd never really done anything in Birmingham other than maybe compete at
Mm.
the Birmingham University. So it was quite interesting to see that. So it was, studio was amazing. All the things that they moaned about in the other studio, they fixed in the new one. But I think what they've done with the studio is to the untrained eye, unless someone said they've changed the studio, I don't think you would notice.
Oh,
They,
well,
they
getting very technical about it, I noticed that when the chefs, after they finish their critics thing, they don't go into that brick alcove anymore, which is
no, that's
just one of the
gone.
things I
That's
noticed because I said that to my wife, but there you go.
and they exit stage right instead of stage
Yeah.
left when they get kicked out. So
We're obviously super fans. We're obviously super fans, Gary. So I've got a question because it's one of these things that I've watched lots of cookery programs over the years, and I love them. And whenever you have a guest chef like yourself, or you've watched something like Man versus Food years ago, you never have anyone saying, "Oh, that's just terrible." So, in your opinion, do you think that happens when you get yourself in or you get Philly in the week after you? Do the chefs have to put a brave face on for the cameras and say, "Oh, that's wonderful. The way that you've used tartar sauce in that dessert is amazing." Does things like that happen, do you
what
think?
what from a competitor, or from a guest chef?
Well, from both, but from a guest chef mainly, because obviously we do get criticisms of the competitors. But
The everything that I did as a skills test was fed back. So it was
Okay.
fed back, it was recipeed, it was photographed, everything was sent in prior to
Right.
getting anywhere near a studio or a camera. So, and again, I'm pretty sure
They enjoyed it.
Marcus and Monica would have had a say in it as well, because obviously they're the experts in those skills tests.
Very
Um,
diplomatic. Very diplomatic, Gary.
but it's all checked and everything else. And I think I haven't seen anything this week. But I think everyone's been very different. And I think the response from the public's been good. I mean, for instance, the week I was on, I put 3 posts out and got 1.5 million views on 3 posts.
Wow.
Over 1,000 comments. I got about 3,000 new followers on Facebook and things like that. So people are really invested in that show. The
It's
power of TV just blows my mind.
it's brilliant. And what's been really nice this season with the skills tests is that it isn't, do us a classic, soul marinara or something. It's been food like stuffed chicken wings and, just different foods that people might go away and decide
Yeah,
that they want to make. So it's been really good. And hopefully you'll be back in future seasons for it as well.
let's hope so. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Let's hope they got you on a retainer. So
I'm not.
So obviously your life changed massively, I'm guessing, after winning it 10 years ago. But if any of the listeners or viewers on YouTube today are watching and thinking, "Do you know what? I like cooking, but am I good enough to become a professional chef?" What would you tell them is the best way to, I suppose, find out?
I think the first thing you should do is speak to your local college.
Mm.
Um, and not only is the college going to train you, they're also going to give you that gateway into a good career. And there's a big difference in any career, whether you get a job or a long-term career, and it's making sure you're on the right path for that career.
Mm.
Being a chef's a terrible job, but it's an amazing career. So if you're going to plod through and work in a pub or somewhere like that, it's a job. But it's an amazing career that can take you absolutely anywhere if you just set yourself that target and set yourself that vision.
Okay. Thinking of back to, we'll come back to dishes in a moment if you don't mind, but going back to the not celebrity chef, but the TV chef that you see, you see familiar faces all the time. Obviously, in the 90s onwards, well, most probably early 2000s, you had the rise of maybe Gordon Ramsay on television, a new type of chef where it was mainly about personality and
Yeah,
being mean. The Simon Cowell of chefs. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, although back then it would have been Nigel Lithgow. So I've noticed there's been a very different trend these days in that everyone seems to be nice, and especially you on MasterChef. You're like the nicest guest chef I think I've ever seen on there. Um, do you think that there's a change in what people want to view, or is that just the reality of it? So let me say that question. A young kid coming into cooking for the first time, are they more likely to see someone like a Ramsay or someone like you when they get into this industry? What's the
I
real
think these
chef?
days is it's completely different to when I started.
Mm,
And the thing is, young people now are more informed than we ever were. So when I started cooking, you worked in a hotel, you worked in a really good restaurant, and you were guided by the chef above you. And that chef above you was working the same as you, he was working 7, 8 hours a week. And you just got on with it because you knew no different because that's the environment you were in. Young people now, if they're not happy, can nip off in their break, get on their phone and have a job the next day. So the most important thing in hospitality is the people, and you have to invest in those people. You have to make sure that they're happy in their work, they get the right conditions, and they're enjoying what they're doing. Because if you look after the staff, everything else is fine. Everything else works. Everything else is good. The food's good. The customers are getting looked after. So the staff are the most important part of that. And with my places in Edinburgh, I make the job, I make the job work around the people, because I have set amount of people a day, everyone's paid by the hour, so it doesn't actually matter if someone's off a weekend or 2 weekends in a row, or they only want to work 3 days a week, or they want to work whatever.
mm.
We tailor the job around them, and the more you tailor it, the happier they become and the less likely they are to leave.
Good. Okay.
So it's all about people. And I think the days of the 70, 80-hour weeks are long, long gone, because young people just won't do it. They look at life very, very differently to what we did. They want to achieve great things in a career, but they also want a life.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That is something I wasn't expecting to hear. So that's nice. Okay. So let's get some foodie questions then.
Cool.
Eggs, fridge or in the cupboard? Where should I keep them?
Technically, you leave them in the cupboard, but at home, I leave them in the fridge.
Okay.
I don't know why, but in a business, you would leave them in the cupboard.
Yeah. I always see it as, you go to a supermarket and they're not refrigerated. So I leave them in the cupboard,
Yeah.
but my wife always shouts at me, you should put them in the fridge. So,
Well, not in this country. In the US, they need to be in the fridge,
okay, there you go.
because in the US, they're washed, which takes away the protective coating, which then opens them for bacterial infection. So they have to be in the fridge in the US, but in the UK, they're not washed, so that protective covering's still on. So always wash your hands after you crack your eggs over here.
I had eggs this morning. I don't know if I've washed my hands yet, so
Yeah.
I hope I have. Okay, so other brands are available, but I think we can both agree that baked beans and tomato sauce have got worse over the years as people have been more conscious, I should say, of salt and sugar and those kind of things. Flavors just aren't the same. But and as I said, other brands are available. What's the best baked bean out there?
I'm going to go. I'm going to go Heinz for baked beans.
Right.
I'm
Okay.
going to go Hellman's for mayonnaise and ketchup.
I agree on the ketchup. Yeah, absolutely.
The ketchup is, I mean, I'm in a lucky position where I can get to do things like taste tests, and you
Yeah.
can taste 4 or 5 or 6 brands at the same time. And it's amazing how we are tuned to certain brands religiously without even thinking about it. So I mean, things like ketchup, you look on the label and just look at the percentage of tomato that's in it, and you'll be surprised that the leading brand is probably get the least amount of tomato. But
Wow. Okay.
but no, definitely Hellman's for ketchup, and obviously the mayonnaise has always been a big thing.
And mayonnaise in the fridge?
Once open in the fridge, yeah,
Okay, fine.
and ketchup once open.
A final one on the food questions: fish and chips, vinegar or no vinegar?
If you're at my place, it's a lovely linen wrap lemon.
Right. Okay.
If it's a chippy, it definitely needs brown vinegar. But
There you go.
again, in Edinburgh, they have a
Sauce.
salt and sauce. And that's basically like a brown sauce. It's a brand, Star. I think the brand's called Star, but it's a kind of thin brown sauce. But that's big in Edinburgh, and you've got to have that when you've got a fish and chip offer there.
Well, I've already alienated Birmingham. I'm going to alienate Edinburgh now and say brown sauce. Oh, sorry, yeah, sauce is an abomination. It should never be anywhere near chips at all. But
I actually like it. I actually quite like it. It is
Right.
vinegary. I always thought the salt and sauce in Edinburgh was a mixture of brown sauce and vinegar. It was thinned down with vinegar, but it's actually a brand that's just a thin vinegary brown sauce. And you'll always know if you've got a local Edinburgh customer, they will ask for the salt and sauce.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, just final thing then, really, before we finish up today. I know you've got a lot going on with some other appearances and things which you've already talked a bit about, but cost of living's going up, and I've got 2 children, not children, they're pretty much grown up now, but they're at university, so they're always wondering about budgets and things.
Yeah.
Give us a very, very quick, easy, cost-effective recipe that all students should be saying, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go out and get that. What's on your menu?
I think if you go, dare I say, if you're on a budget, going Italian's good.
Yeah.
Necessarily doesn't have to have any meat or anything in it, which saves you some money. But learning how to make a really good, nice tomato sauce, even something like a bit of chorizo through it goes a long way. Don't skimp on cheese either. I know that's probably the most expensive part, but when you're buying cheese, make sure it's nice, mature cheddars or mild cheddars, incredible with something like that. I think the big thing is there's no excuse for people not to cook. I think people should be cooking fresh. Batch cooking is really important at home. I batch cook. I spend probably 5 or 6 hours making loads and loads of food, and then I vacuum pack it, and then I freeze it in sort of portions, and it can last for months. And it's home cooked, fresh food that is on tap, which means you're not cooking every day. So it's just a case of getting your brain in order. It's getting putting a wee bit of priority on what you're feeding your family. And one thing that drives me mad is the chat that fresh food is more expensive than convenience. And that drives me mad. So if you're feeding, I've got 5 kids. So if I have to buy convenience for 5 kids, whatever it may be, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whereas if you buy fresh, and the other thing is when you buy fresh and you feed fresh, is it actually does your body good. You're full for longer. Convenience food, regardless of what it may be, after a couple of hours, you've got the kids still hungry, looking for snacks and whatever else that they're getting. And I know it's not easy. It's just getting into that routine. But batch cooking and the investment in a nice household vacuum packer will extend the shelf life of anything you make to about 10 days. And if you freeze it, it can last for a couple of months.
Well, I think that's a fantastic tip, and I'll be honest, it's something that I should do more because our freezer is usually the waiting room for the bin. In that we freeze stuff, and then six
Never go
months
back to it.
later, oh yeah, well, we better put that in the bin now to make room for
But
the
it's
new
how
stuff.
it's how you freeze as well. If you freeze in a Tupperware tub, it takes 2 days to defrost. If
Okay,
you freeze in a vacuum pack bag, it'll defrost in an hour because it's flat.
okay,
So it means you can decide that night that if you're going to have some meatballs out the freezer, you can lay them out in a tray. You can lay the bag out in a tray and it defrosts within an hour or two.
great.
But if
Well,
it's a Tupperware tub, it's days.
so we'll leave with one last recipe before I ask what's next for you. Because once again, there's a big debate in our house when we make scrambled eggs. Um,
Yeah.
how do you make your scrambled eggs?
So scrambled eggs should be probably one of the most important things. Don't put salt in it.
Okay,
So don't add salt to the mix because that breaks the egg, and that's how you get that watery split
uh-huh.
scrambled egg. Butter in a cold pan, just let it melt nice and slow. Add the eggs with a spatula, just keep it moving. I love black pepper, and then once the eggs are set to your liking, I know they should be creamy and runny, but some people don't like it. So cook them to how you like it, and then season at the end. Get your salt
Okay.
in at the end.
No water, no milk, no cream.
No, in fact, but you could put a little bit of milk. You could put a little bit of milk, and you could finish with a little bit of butter.
Fair enough. Well, I thought you were going to tell me something disgraceful there, which is do it in the microwave, which I'm glad you didn't. But there you go. So what's next for yourself, Gary? You said that you're off way Boston next.
Next week, I'm away to the seafood show in Boston. It's
Right.
one of the biggest. I think it's the biggest seafood show in the world. I think it's second to Barcelona, which is in April. After that, I've got a charity dinner in New York, and I'm out for Tartan Week, as I normally do, to New York at the beginning of April. And again, I'm doing the Barcelona show in the middle, and then in the summer. I was looking at the Jordan Food Festival, but I don't know if that's going to happen these days.
Unless it's Katie Price.
No, it's not. It's Jordan in the Middle East,
Right.
unfortunately.
Okay.
But I was there last year. That was good. But I think just a lot more travel. I'll probably be in the States quite a lot. Chicago. Where else am I going? I've got the New Hampshire Highland Games that I do every year.
Right.
Trying to think, I've got a couple of projects on the go, which will come to fruition in the next couple of months as well. So, yeah, it's a busy time.
Well, amazing. Well, good luck with everything and enjoy Boston. I'm guessing this time of year, yeah, well, it's still cold out there. I would have thought just a bit like Scotland, I'm guessing.
It won't be a million miles off where we are, I don't think,
But enjoy your time
weather-wise.
and enjoy the Scotland games if you manage to get to them. I'm sure you'll somehow manage to get in the stadium.
I was at my first rugby match,
Okay.
Scotland-England game, at Murrayfield a couple of weeks ago. That was amazing.
That was your first rugby match?
My very first. My very first. I should really get a ticket for the French game. I think I'm the lucky charm.
Well, I was going to say that, we can talk about rugby all day, but me being Welsh, it's probably a topic that we should avoid at the moment.
Well,
but,
was that last week, the Welsh game?
So not this weekend, just gone the one before. Yeah, absolutely.
Was it one before? Yeah.
But at least we've got the easy island to beat this next weekend. So, yeah. Yeah, that's not going to happen either. Anyway, Gary, look, it's been wonderful having you on. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me and my listeners today. And hopefully we'll catch you again sometime in the future.
Yes. Thanks for having us. It's been lovely to talk.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's today's show. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. To keep in touch, make sure you follow us on social media on the following addresses and hit the subscribe button below. Without your views, this show just can't be made, so please do make sure you hit that button. If you want to be on a future show, the email address is on the screen there. But for the time being, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next week.